So we are on the top of page 1 together. In case you were wondering how this works, if the prompt says all, that's you. If we have songs, please feel free to sing along, and if you don't know the words but you pick up the melody, there's a Jewish la la la, yai bye bye, lie lie lie, some kind of diphthong syllable works pretty well. So welcome and Happy New Year, Shana Tova. We have come together as family and friends, as congregation members and visitors, as people of diverse heritages to join others throughout the world in celebrating Rosh Hashanah, New Year's Day in the Hebrew calendar, and the anniversary of the world according to the Talmud. All of us are here together because of our connection to the Jewish people through birth, choice, and association. As the first day of the Jewish year, Rosh Hashanah marks a turning point of hope between what was and what will be, between what is and what ought to be. We share with many a humanism that draws us together here in our common quest for moral self-assessment and self-correction. As one year ends and another begins, we gather to each reflect upon our words and deeds and to renew our commitments and efforts to improve ourselves and our world, to fulfill our human potential. We are here today to celebrate another year of life and reflect on the year that is ending, on our milestones and our mistakes, our joys and our sorrows, on the lessons learned and the challenges and questions still to be faced. We'll begin by singing a song wishing peace and well-being to one another, Haveinu Shalom Aleichem, and yes, please do sing. We want to hear your voices too. I'd like to invite up our first reader, Zemer Meshulam. And we will join together, well, I'll join together and you'll join in after. On the bottom of page 1, in most other festivals, the spirit is one of joy and feedback. Let's try that. Okay. Yet Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are imbued with a seriousness born of the sense of responsibility each of us bears for our life and ethical choices. These days are also different in that they are not nature festivals, nor do they commemorate a historical event. Rather, they are observed respectively as the ceremonial beginning and ending points for a period of intensive reflection, when we each confront the negative consequences of our mistakes and misdeeds as we strive to make amends and turn a new page in our lives. Support, challenge, and help empower one another to foster such improvement.
Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year's Day, but in contrast with the New Year's of other peoples, it is greeted with solemnity as well as revelry. As we begin our ceremony, we light these festival and Sabbath candles to illuminate our self-examination and to express our hopes for the future.
Okay. Ordinarily, you light candles at night, but unless you were here and I didn't know about it, we weren't here last night. So we're going to light our candles for Rosh Hashanah this morning. Yivarech et ha'or ba'olam, Yivarech et ha'or ba'adam, Yivarech et ha'or b'yom tov. Let us bless the light in the world. Let us bless the light in humanity. Let us bless the light of Shabbat in this home. How many people read Shabbat?
Just as candles radiate warmth and illumination, so too may we. Just as our forebears kindled such flames for themselves and us, so too may we shine our lights for the present generations and those yet to come.
So, one of our new songs is our old song, Eifo Ori. So those of you who are used to going to the back of the book and looking for Eifo Ori, you can use the words, but you can't use the dots on the lines. So hopefully that's okay, because there's not any chance to change this now. If you've been with us before, as I noted, you'll certainly note that the room is different. And there are probably a little bit of, what the heck did you do here with the seating arrangements? And you can ask why, and it's fair. We call ourselves Machar, the secular humanistic Jewish congregation of Greater Washington, but a congregation isn't all we are or want to be. Congregation really is just the Latin version of the Greek word synagogue, and they both mean the same thing, a group of people being pulled together. But that isn't the same thing as community. Community means coming together as one. You can create a congregation without having a community. Having community means laying bare some of ourselves. It requires being known and not simply knowing. The 20th century Jewish philosopher Martin Buber talked about this using terminology of I-thou. An I-thou relationship comes about when we look to people for who they are rather than what they do for us. We're about to sing Eifo Ori, which encapsulates much of what humanistic Judaism thinks about what we can rely upon and who we need to be in the world, one another's light. We're using a new melody, and you'll notice a few new musical pieces this year. And we're going to approach Eifo Ori a little bit different from years past. There's no other way to put this. I'm going to make you feel a little weird for a while. You'll know what I mean when you start to feel weird. And my challenge to you is, since we only have a short amount of time together today, push through the weird. Open your heart a little bit. The melody we're going to use is not a typical Jewish minor key melody. So you can maybe get yourself lost in it a little bit. And I know we're not used to doing that. It's Machar. I know there's a lot of people who think really hard and then feel hard but kind of push it down. Don't push it down. As you learn the melody, just let yourself go on autopilot. Don't worry about what you sound like. Just sound how you sound. It will feel strange until hopefully it doesn't. And just let yourself flow with the music a little bit and open your heart as we come together, not simply as a congregation, but as a community in which we start to know one another. And so the words for Eifo Ori are number 2 in the hymnal section. But again, the dots will not help you, just the words. Yai we sing. No one signed up for this high holidays, I know. We're on the bottom of page 2. Since ancient times, Jews have gathered together on this day, lit ceremonial fires, sang and recited liturgy, celebrated the new year, and reflected on their lives.
Today we remember all the times that we came together during the year with family and friends to light candles and sing. Together we remember times of joy and sorrow. Together we contemplate how to live better lives. Together we renew our covenant, our commitment to shared ideals.
These memories of the past and ideals of a better future help shape and give meaning to our lives. These memories and ideals link us with our forebears and heritage, and we hope with generations to come. As we reflect on our good fortune to begin another year of life, let us say a Shehecheyanu, a celebration of the new, the rare, and the wonderful. Yivarech kol dor vador Shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Let us bless the goodness which we have encountered in the world, which has kept us alive and sustained us and brought us to this moment.
Let us celebrate this Rosh Hashanah, this head of the new year, by being mindful of how we help create the world in which we live. Let us begin this new year by cleansing our hands and our hearts, by correcting our mistakes and making amends with those we have hurt.
Let us value this day of celebration and reflection by striving to put our hearts into all we do, today and every day. Let us inaugurate this new year by being truly present and engaged, by reaching out to others, by lending a hand. So, thank you, Semra, for being our first reader and co-leading with me. I'm going to ask Julie and Darren to come up. So, we have two families that are providing our readers today. So, Julian, if you want to grab that box. There's not an age limit on participation. There's not an age limit on participation, so we really like it when our JCS students get involved too. We are on the top of page 4. So if you are willing and able to do so, please stand and sing with us to the traditional melody, our humanistic Shema. Shema Yisrael, Im Kol Shonutenu, Kol Ha'adam Echad, Kulanu Na'avod, Litakein Et Ha'olam Hazeh. Hear, O Israel, with all our diversity, humanity is one. Together, let us work to improve this world. So, before you start reading, isn't the Shema only supposed to be one line? Why do we do it twice? Why was there a second line? I mean, you can answer if you want. A lot of what we do in our liturgy reflects Jewish tradition. And it is traditional on the high holidays for the Shema to pick up its second line, sung, when often it is not. So we have our second line, Kulanu Na'avod, which probably comes as a surprise. Why am I doing the same melody twice? You'll find a lot of things like that in our service that sort of reflect past tradition in a different way. And so we're on the middle, just below this heading that says, Let Us Love, and Julian is going to lead us into that.
And insightful love, deep and healing love, liberating and joyful love. Let us rejoice in love and in the fertility it brings to the human experience.
Love expands our abilities to explore and express ourselves. Love deepens our feelings of connectedness and individuality. Love helps us reach across the boundaries of ego, class, creed, ethnicity, and nation. Love heightens our senses of meaning, beauty, and wonder.
Love the world, our soul, and our might. And these words will be upon our hearts always. Let us learn them by heart with our children, and let us speak them often as we sit in our homes and walk along the way, as we lie down and rise up.
Let us attach them as a sign to guide our minds and our hands. Let us write them on the mezuzot in our home as lessons. Let us make our every day a labor of love. Let it be words of love that we speak and live by, not words of gossip, ill will, or cruelty, not words of lashon hara, the evil tongue. So we are going to sing Hine Matov, because I kind of feel like it's almost, to the extent that humanistic Judaism really requires anything, it seems like it's mandatory to have Hine Matov. However, I know you're bobbing your heads up and down over there, I see you. However, the melody is going to be different and the words are going to be a little expanded. So if you go to your supplemental packet, there's a sheet with song lyrics, and you'll see that's something called Hine Matov number 3. We're just accumulating Hine Matovs over here. That's how it works. So, this is new for this year, as you probably can tell by all the English. Our choir is going to lead us in singing. I need you to be aware, this is a Jewish bluegrass song. I'm absolutely not kidding. Band's name is Nefesh Mountain. You can go look them up. They are a Jewish bluegrass band and playing Jewish music as bluegrass, which means it's a little peppy and the timing's going to be a little different from what you're used to. So just hang in there with us. The odds that you're going to learn all the words right now are not high. However, if you know Hine Matov Umanayim and you can squeeze it into the new melody, I think you'll be okay. And if you're not, it's the new year and there's a little bit of discomfort that comes with everything, yeah? Come making you sing a different melody, and it's very uncomfortable. Did you really want to sing on Rosh Hashanah? Okay. I mean, some people do, and that's great, but some people want to sing something new too. So we're on the middle of page 5. We won't need this again until page 14. We're on the middle of page 5, and we're about to have our Amidah. If you're familiar with the purpose of the traditional Amidah, it might seem a little odd that we have one. If you're not familiar with the Amidah, a little school lesson here. Because I know, if you went to a synagogue school, in all likelihood, no one told you what you were doing. They just told you to do it. The overall timetable for the Jewish day that the rabbis came up with about 1,500 years ago, and it sets the tone for like all of Jewish history that follows, is this. 3 times on a weekday and 4 times on Shabbat and certain holidays, an Amidah is recited. There are several names given to the Amidah, including HaTefillah, the prayer. Amidah is what we seem to call it most often in the US because Amidah means standing, and, all that complaining about sit, stand from synagogues. The Amidah is the stand part most of the time. Why so many times per day? The Amidah was meant by the rabbis to replace something that could no longer be a part of Jewish life as they knew it. Daily and holiday sacrifices at the temple in Jerusalem. And so the rabbis determined that reciting the correct prayers at the correct times of day would serve as a substitute for the sacrifices of animals and other food that, to their thinking, ensured that Jews who had sinned would be reconciled with the God of Israel, and ensured that the Jewish people could continue to show its loyalty to the God of Israel. If the Amidah was meant for that purpose, it's fair to ask, why do we even have one at Machar? Because whatever your beliefs about the existence of a god or gods, I'm really not aware of any of us genuinely anticipating the resumption of animal sacrifices, or in any of us believing that we need to reproduce the temple's slate of sacrifices by means of prayer. Rabbi Erwin Kula has written about the idea of wisdom technologies, by which he does not mean particularly intuitive AI. Rabbi Kula instead talks about Judaism and other religious and philosophical traditions that center on thought and practice as wisdom traditions, inherited but changeable systems of thought and practice that offer tools for encountering life with meaning. Each of those tools is a wisdom technology. Judaism has developed many of these little wisdom technologies over the centuries. Reciting blessings in responses to experiences and events in the world is one. Putting on a talit is another. Torah study and its full system that developed over about a 2,000-year period, still another. Swaying during services, the Amidah, these are all wisdom technologies. And Rabbi Kula calls them technologies on purpose, because individual technologies can cease to be meaningful or relevant. They can be changed to correct problems with them, they can be adapted or adopted or repurposed or thrown out, because ultimately they're tools for approaching life's big questions. The Amidah is a Jewish wisdom technology, a tool that's available to us when we want to make meaning out of something like the high holidays. The Amidah can change when it doesn't work for us. The Amidah is also, in a sense, part of the language of Judaism as a wisdom tradition. The contents of the Amidah, the uses to which we put it or don't put it, are what makes it a tool we can use and says things about us and about our priorities. But at bottom, what most changes in Rosh Hashanah services as compared to other services for other times and days of the year is the Amidah itself. walk into your neighborhood Orthodox synagogue today, the book is really big. And a lot of what's changed is the size of the Amidah. We change it up by having an Amidah at all. Because if you join us online for Shabbat, you'll notice that we don't have an Amidah. In part because who wants to stand in front of their camera and it's all out of view? But because we use the Amidah as a tool recognizing that this holiday is different. And so I hope you'll join me as we make use of this ancient tool, putting us in line with the past while setting the stage as we step toward the future. We are in the middle of page 5. Since the temple stood in Jerusalem, Jews in a standing position, Amidah, have idealized qualities they attributed to their ancestors and deity. If you are able and willing to do so, please stand together now to proclaim our shared ideals and will to act upon them. Together, let us remember those who have come before us, who have given us life, love, and our culture. Such is our Zikaron Chazdei Imot Va'avot, our remembrance of the kindness and merits of our mothers and fathers. Let us work together in mutual aid to benefit all. May we thus advance mutuality, Milut Chasadim, our best response to being parts of a vast and interdependent world. Let us be thankful for all that sustains us, for all that gives us contentment and joy, compassion and understanding.
I don't have any more.
You don't have any? Oh. Okay. May our efforts help bring such well-being to all who live on earth. Let us work for peace, shalom, in our relationships, our communities, and our world. Let us recognize and celebrate our differences to better live together. Thank you, Julian, for coming up and leading part of our service with us today. And if you'd send your sister Serena up. I know you're all waiting for this. You may be seated. We're on the top of page 7. Rosh Hashanah heightens our awareness that each human action or inaction may have significance in what Jewish lore and liturgy call the Book of Life, Sefer HaChaim, of which we are all together, both authors and subjects. This mythic book is thus comprised of the totality of our human experience.
This book of life is imagined to be our collective record of all our deeds, from the best to the worst and those in between. We celebrate all that are laudable, and we feel regret and anxiety over mistakes and misdeeds. We fear that their consequences may haunt and shadow us, blocking our way to the better future we desire.
Unatana tokef kedushat hayom ki hu nora va'ayom. Let us acknowledge the distinct power of this day, for it is one of awe and angst. Let us acknowledge the distinct power of this day to remind us that all human beings are together co-authors of the Book of Life.
Yet, while we all miss the mark, go astray, often harming others and ourselves, we all are also able to make substantive changes to counter the negative outcomes of our own mistakes and misdeeds.
Let us begin the new year by each listening to the still, small voice of conscience within us. Uvashofar gadol yitaka, v'kol damama daka yishama. The great shofar will be sounded. The still, small voice will be heard. Having heard the call of conscience, let us engage in moral renewal. At Rosh Hashanah, we are mindful of how we may each engage ourselves in turning new pages in the Book of Life, compiling humanity's good works. Jewish tradition, as summed up by the stark poetry of the Unatana Tokef, prescribes 3 ways of countering the negative consequences of our deeds: teshuvah, tefillah, and tzedakah.
Teshuvah here means answering for our wrongs, taking responsibility for them, and returning to the right path to reach our moral goals.
Let us turn from wrong and do good, seek peace and pursue it. Let us take responsibility for our lives. Make paths that help us reach our moral goals.
Tefillah is commonly translated as prayer. It is also related to words for hope, imagination, seeking, examination, thought, decision, and judgment. Humanists may therefore interpret and value tefillah as self-examination, introspection, self-searching, as well as moral reckoning and accountability, all of which in Hebrew can also be called Shebana Hafer.
Yep. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Cheshbon HaNefesh. Together, may our introspections help us renew our hopes for the improvement of ourselves and our world. May our words of reflection today be the seeds of our deeds in the year ahead. Tzedakah is generous and magnanimous moral action for justice. Often translated as charity, tzedakah includes and transcends philanthropy. Tzedakah at its best creates empowerment, cooperation, and equality. We give generously of ourselves and our wherewithal to help bring about the better world of which we dream. May we do what is right and just.
Let justice roll forth like waters, and tzedakah moral action like a stream ever flowing.
V'yigal kamayim mishpat u'tzedakah kanachal eitan. May our ideals and hopes help guide and inspire our actions in the year ahead. Let us commit ourselves to such deeds in this world today and every day. Let us all be thus dedicated and appreciated, devoted and acknowledged. Nihya kulanu kadosh ukdosha, kadoshim ukdoshot. Let us together enter each person as a precious presence, a sublime jewel of life. Let us thus see and feel, hear and smell, taste and celebrate the beauty of this world. All the earth is full of merit and splendor, all beings full of worth and wonder. Melo chol haaretz kavod.
And thus may we help all of humanity to become one fellowship with a heart at peace.
Uvechein na'azor et ha'anushut l'chavot aguda echat b'levav shalem.
And thus, let us encourage hope, and let us work for the end of tyranny and for the growth of liberty and justice.
Uvechein na'ametz tikva v'na'avod lasof shel memshelet zadon u'legidol cherut u'tzedakah. Thus, let us renew our vision, our commitments, and our efforts for the improvement of the world, for tikkun ha'olam. Let us recognize our shortcomings and our potentials, find contentment and joy in life as we work to live up to our ideals.
As we begin this new year, let us appreciate all the goodness that we experience and create in this world, and let us work together to save this world for future generations.
Because I know once you see columns, it gets a little confusing geographically which way you're going. We're going to go down the first column, then down the second column. The moon is dark tonight, a new moon for a new year. It is hollow and hungers to be full. It is the black zero of beginning.
Now you must avoid yourself of injuries, insults, incursions. Go with empty hands to those you have hurt and make amends.
It is not too late. It is early and about to grow. Now is the time to do what you know you must and have feared to begin. Your face is dark too, as you turn inward to face yourself, the hidden twin of all you must grow to be.
Forgive the dead year. Forgive yourself. What will be wants to push through your fingers. The light you seek hides in your belly.
The light you crave longs to stream from your eyes. You are the moon that will wax in new goodness. Thank you, Serena, for leading part of our service with me today. Every year, we have speakers from within our congregation who come to talk about sometimes whatever it is that strikes them and sometimes on our theme. Our speaker today will be Will David. Will is Machar's president and treasurer. One day you're going to shake that treasurer thing, maybe. And in prior years, he served on Machar's board and as one of the congregation's vice presidents. As with all of our speakers, this year, Will's speech will focus on his understanding of our theme for the holiday season: why am I here? Why are we here?
Good morning.
Good morning.
When my wife Marty and I got married 21 years ago, we picked out a marriage ketubah that had many messages that resonated. But the one that stood out for us was, "We shall create a home that will honor each other's cherished traditions and values." We now know that this was a secular, humanistic Jewish ketubah from an SHJ-affiliated website. But back then, we didn't know anything about secular humanistic Judaism, or even that it had existed. We just liked what the ketubah said, and we were writing our own wedding ceremony, and it fit well with what we were creating. It was a secular service with Jewish symbolism that we both liked. We got married under a chuppah. I broke a glass at the end. Marty was raised in a Catholic home and attended 12 years of Catholic school. When we met, we were in our early 30s. She was not religiously affiliated, not religious at all. With credit to an ex-boyfriend, though, who was Jewish, Marty was extremely knowledgeable about Judaism and about the history of Israel. For my part, I grew up in a conservative synagogue in Newport News, Virginia. My grandfather, my father, and my younger brother have all been presidents of that conservative temple in Newport News. After Marty and I got engaged, when we were in Newport News, we went to high holiday services at that conservative synagogue that I grew up in. She would lean over to me, point to the English translation on the left side of the page, with the often repeating phrase, "Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe," and she would raise an eyebrow. Bottom line is, despite our different backgrounds, we were both secular, humanistic Jews. We were both completely aligned around a comfort with Jewish culture and many Jewish customs. I think it's that in Judaism, it's more important what you do and how you behave than what you believe that was a natural fit for Marty, and that's always resonated with me too. We went on to have two girls, now 18 and 20, and we both wanted them to identify as being Jewish, though not in a religious sense. Despite that, we actually decided to have them converted to conservative Judaism when they were little, as we were told that this will allow them to go on a birthright trip to Israel if they wanted to do that. We just wanted them to have a ticket to play in whatever they decided to do. So as a prerequisite for this conversion ceremony, we had to meet with 3 conservative rabbis in Norfolk, Virginia, and we both had to be interviewed together. Now, to appreciate this story, you have to understand that as relates to Christmas, ever since adulthood, Marty felt that the tree and the decorations were more of a nuisance than they were anything else, and she had actually never celebrated Christmas as an adult. Whereas I, the Jewish one, actually thought Christmas was fun, based on my one experience with an ex-girlfriend, where they had put me up to dress up as Santa Claus. In full costume, I walked in with a puppy under each arm, surprise gifts from my then-girlfriend and her sister. So we're sitting in front of these 3 conservative rabbis at a conservative synagogue in Norfolk, and the rabbis knew that I was raised as a conservative Jew and that Marty was not Jewish. During the interview, they looked at Marty and asked, "Will you be okay with never celebrating Christmas again?" We both laughed. The rabbis looked confused. Knowing that I had enjoyed a Christmas celebration in the past, and she was long done with it, She said to them, "You're asking the wrong person. You need to ask him. He loves Christmas." We then tried to explain, I don't think they knew what to make of us. But the kids got their certificates, and we put them in their baby files if they ever want them. Fast forward to our move to Vienna, Virginia, 11 years ago, and our oldest daughter, Kate, was approaching bat mitzvah age. We had long stopped attending services at a conservative synagogue, but Kate had gone to the JCC preschool in Williamsburg and in Newport News, identified as being Jewish, and we all wanted her to be bat mitzvahed. It was then, now 8 years ago, that we found Machar. Kate was bat mitzvahed with Rabbi Nechama, and 2 years later, our younger daughter, Ella, was bat mitzvahed with Rabbi Jeremy. Like we had done with our wedding ceremony, we worked with the girls to create a custom service. I actually taught the girls to read Hebrew so that they could recite a Torah and Haftorah portion. That's not traditional for Machar, but we did it primarily so the girls would feel like they had learned to recite Hebrew just as their cousins had done. They also wrote and delivered presentations. Kate on standing up and being counted as a part of the secular Jewish community. Ella on her connection with humanism and doing acts of kindness for each other. I think I've answered the question, why is our family here at Machar? Machar has provided our family a community where we feel comfortable as secular Jews, where we can believe what we say on the high holidays, where we have found a like-minded community. Our girls, now young women, identify as being Jewish and are proud of their heritage, though it's not grounded in religion. And why am I here as a congregant, still as treasurer, and now as president of Machar? After our girls finished their bat mitzvahs, they went on to focus on high school. I was asked to join the Machar board, and feeling a deep sense of appreciation for what Machar had provided our family, I quickly accepted. When later asked to become treasurer by Larry Lawrence, I thought that catered to my finance background and therefore that I could be of service to Machar in that capacity. A few months ago, Elaine Dancis persuaded me to succeed her as president. Honestly, I feel that it's an awesome responsibility. Machar was founded 47 years ago by a group of 7 people who wanted to start a secular humanist congregation in the DC area. Since that time, many people, many of whom are in this room, have given to Machar much of their time and energy as well as financial support. We still exist today because of you. And today, it's an interesting time for Machar. We are collaborating with 2 other Jewish congregations for Sunday school and adult education, including Beth Chai, the other Jewish humanist congregation in the DC area that was actually founded by our founders, from whence they split and formed Machar 40 years ago. And now, I communicate with that congregation's president several times a week in collaboration and in partnership. Who knows where it might lead? Fundamentally, I am here because it is important to me that Machar continue to grow and thrive. I think secular humanistic Judaism has an important place in the Jewish world and in the world at large. And I feel that the Machar community is made up of and attracts good people who are empathetic and who fundamentally want to do good by other people of all backgrounds. For those of you that are here today that have helped this congregation in many, many ways over the years, I hope you know how much you are appreciated. For those of you who are new to Machar or attending these high holiday services to see what we're about, I hope you will always feel welcome here. Shana Tova.
Thank you, Will. So there's a phrase that the hip, cool Jewish kids sometimes say that is the hip, cool Jewish version of, well, people still say, but sometimes they're not quite hip and young. I am not hip and young, by the way. My hip will tell you I'm not hip and young. So the traditional phrase is Yasher Koach, which means, may your strength be strong. It's a very odd locution when you stop and think about it. What the cool kids say today is Shkoyach. So, well, Shkoyach. Everybody else, Shkoyach. To everybody who participates in any way at Machar, Shkoyach. We're doing some stuff a little bit differently today. I'm going to invite up two people. One of them is our fourth reader, Mike Sandler. Ask not for whom the bell tolls, for it tolls for thee. Like now, ding. Ding. The other person is a local student rabbi, Jacob Hudson, who himself has been a teacher in our Sunday school. Need to worry about name.
Nerves. Humanity has long cherished the enduring ideals of a just order, transcending the misrule of tyrants and the sorrows that flow from our own misjudgment and misdirection.
Rosh Hashanah is also called Yom Hadin, the Day of Judgment. We gather to observe this day as one dedicated to human self-examination, self-judgment, and self-correction. We make this season one of moral renewal as we begin the new year together, by each of us acting as the author of our own becoming and inscribing our hopefully ever-improving selves into a metaphorical book of life.
Aleinu, it is upon us. It is our responsibility together to cultivate and sustain progress in this world, using our evolving capacities for human self-determination and harmony. Together, connected with the peoples of all other lands, all the families of the earth. Our lot is the same as theirs. Thus we must stand together for equality, liberty, and peace. The highest value is in the breath of life. Nothing is more precious.
Man's plight would indeed be sad if he had to be kept in order through fear of punishment and hope of reward after death.
Man must break his fetters which have chained to the gates of heaven and hell, so that he can begin to fashion out of his reawakened and illumined consciousness a new world upon the earth. I'm going to ask you to turn to Tikva Shofar in the hymnal section. It's number 18 at the back of the books. If you have your supplemental packet of readings and songs, take a look at the first page at a small reading called a kavanah, the shofar. Kavanah is a Hebrew word that means intent or intention or even preparation. And the idea behind a kavanah as we use it here is that it provides a tool that prepares our thinking as we move into a particular activity. The shofar takes us into the self that is hidden from the self, and then returns us to the world. In the silence, we hear the voice of the other, we hear what has gone unheard. How long should it take to blow the shofar? Just take a stopwatch out and count, right? Easy. Except the Torah doesn't actually provide any specific rules for how long the shofar must be blown. The rabbis of the Talmud, a good 800 years or so after the Torah was completed, came up with a unit of measurement that I think you'll agree is entirely unhelpful. They say each note, excepting the big tekiyah gedolah that happens at the end, should be for 9 whimpers. Today, the consensus among rabbis is that that's basically 3 seconds, which is kind of a mercy because a shofar isn't the easiest thing to get a sound from. I'd like to invite up our shofar blowers, tikiyah, as we begin to listen to the notes for today. Let us now listen to the voice of the shofar. Hava nishma kol shofar, aleinu. It is upon us, it is our responsibility to strive to live up to these values. In each of us, may our conscience, enlightened judgment, and commitment be roused by the shofar's sustained blast of Tekiyah, by the broken notes of Shevarim, by the staccato alarm of Teruah, and by yet another blast of Tekiyah.
Today is also called Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrance. Since antiquity, this day has been a time for Jews and any who sojourn among them to remember both what is and what ought to be, both the real and the ideal, both their own words and deeds, good and bad, and the moral covenant in which they cooperate for the improvement of the world, Tikkun Ha'olam. Such remembering drives our moral reckoning as we feel the vast gap between our vision of what we should do and what we have actually done.
Today and every day, let us remember and act upon our human solidarity, compassion, and ideals that constitute our covenant for a better world. May the shofar awaken us to be ever mindful of our expansive covenant, which reaches from our forebears to us and on to the many generations yet born. Tekiyah, Teruah, Tekiyah.
Rosh Hashanah is also called Yom Teruah, the day of sounding the shofar. The primal blasts of the ram's horn trumpet have for thousands of years proclaimed the cycles of the years and months, the inaugurations of war and peace, new rulers, decrees, and freedoms, as well as calls to conscience, hope, and action. Today, the shofar can still help move us, if we but choose to be so moved.
In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, You shall have a day of rest dedicated to the remembrance of your deeds, with the sounding of the shofar, a special assembly. Sound on the new moon the shofar, on the full moon of our festival day.
Like the thunder on the mountain, let the shofar sound. Like strings and drums, reeds and cymbals, let us hear the music of its call.
Tekiah, Shivarim, Tekiah. Next, you'll turn to Sterkim Anachnu, which is number 6 in the hymnal section.
We have only begun to imagine the fullness of life. How could we tire of hope? So much is in bud.
How can desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy.
Only
Begun to envision how it might be to live as siblings with beast and flower, not as oppressors.
Surely our river cannot already be hastening into the sea of non-being.
Not yet, not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended. Too much hurt that we have done to each other that cannot yet be forgiven. We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggle.
So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in bud.
Mike is not done yet reading. He'll be back up. Jacob, however, gets a well-deserved break and a quick shkoyach for kind of being dumped in the deep end. I don't know if you know this. I mean, Jacob knows this. When you apply to most rabbinical schools in the United States, outside of the realm of orthodoxy, you end up having to undergo some form of psychological screening, which, when you think about it, makes some sense. People sometimes just roll up next to their rabbi and ask, entirely unironically, what's the meaning of life? It's not that the rabbi answering that question should not have any mental health difficulties. There would be far fewer rabbis around if the criteria for admission to rabbinical school included things like, no one may be admitted with a diagnosis of any form of anxiety or depressive disorder. The reason for the screening is this. Imagine having the chutzpah, the sheer temerity, to decide that you of all people should be answering that question. And now you're looking at me in a whole different way. What sort of person are you who thinks that you should go to 5 years of graduate school, spending much of your time studying the words of people who have been dead for 1,500 years or more, so you can answer modern questions about the meaning of life? I out-clevered myself on my notebook. Here we go. And there's this. We don't really know the meaning of life or why things happen, so how exactly should anyone think they're qualified to answer questions like, what's the meaning of life? Or, as we're asking today, why am I here? And the truth is, we really don't know why many things happen in this world. Most of our answers to why questions about the natural world are actually how answers, not why answers. Take the stereotypical kid's question, why is the sky blue? If we say, well, it's because of Rayleigh scattering, we aren't really explaining why, we're explaining how. And by the way, Homer in the ancient Greek said that the sky was bronze and that honey was green. So maybe we don't really have a grasp on how. We can't answer the big why. Why are we here? Because we're here. If we push, in good Western philosophical style, we might come up with some other answers to questions of purpose, to the big why questions. But those answers also kind of don't work out. Why does the universe exist? Why am I here? Or, as the late Rabbi Harold Kushner asked, why do bad things happen to good people? By the way, that's not the title of the book. The title of the book is When Bad Things Happen to Good People, because Rabbi Kushner already knew he didn't have the answer to why. We could keep asking those questions, but I think you see the problem. Western secular tradition, of which humanistic Judaism is part, uses its why questions to unmoor traditional assumptions about the meaning of life, and then it turns around to say, well, I can't give you the meaning of life. That's on you. Humanistic rabbi school did not give me the answer to the biggest why question, because humanistic Judaism takes seriously the idea that you're the only person who can answer that for you. I can suggest reasons, the way we see ourselves and one another in this room and more globally, and I can suggest ways of answering questions about purpose and about how secular Western culture and Jewish culture might aid in getting your answers to those big questions. And I can suggest some answers to the question, why are we here? Right now in this place, why are we here? Like others in the room, I spent some portion of my life working as a lawyer, so I, of course, can just trot out the lawyer's standard answer to any open-ended question. Why are we here? Depends. I guess we'd get to lunch faster that way, so I don't think anybody would really hate that answer. We can give all kinds of answers to that why are we here question when it comes to why we are here right now. Why? Because we want a place to educate our kids in a way that is genuine to our own beliefs and honest about the world we see. Maybe we want to be connected to people who engage with Jewish culture and Judaism in the same ways we do. And notice that I didn't say you need to be Jewish to do that. We want to be able to be with people who share our cultural identities and who will also embrace the other facets of who we are, whether that's a matter of ethnicity or gender, or whom we love and build families with in whatever configuration that might take, or our religious backgrounds, or any other piece of ourselves we hold dear. Machar exists for all those reasons, but not only those reasons. Machar exists because we, secular, cultural, and humanistic Jews, and their families, and all their diversity, want to be able to find support from like-minded people as we traverse life's peaks and valleys. More than that, Machar exists because people like you and me deserve a place where we're taken seriously. We deserve a place where who we are is taken seriously and where what we do and believe is seen for what it is. Really, genuinely Jewish. because sometimes the rest of the world doesn't get us. Maybe you learned that when you encountered a rabbi who, when you said, "I don't believe in God," replied, "Well, tell me about the God you don't believe in, because I probably don't either," as though belief is a matter of vocabulary. Or we learn that the world doesn't really get us when we bring home a non-Jewish partner and family members start to unravel because we're Jewish, or because we bring home a Jewish partner and family members start to unravel because we're not Jewish. Or our families are amazing and welcoming, but a childhood rabbi turns partners away when they ask about getting married because only one of them is Jewish. Or maybe we learn it when we discover that people around us are basically fine with prayer in school, because what harm could come to non-Christian students from just saying the Lord's Prayer? Perhaps you have no Jewish ancestry of any kind, but you find yourself drawn to Jewish life, and you also know that your secular and the God stuff doesn't work for you. And then you heard from someone that you can't convert to be a secular or cultural or atheist or agnostic Jew because conversion is religious, and what's the point if you're not going to accept God as understood by the community into which you convert? Maybe you just kind of thought your way to being a cultural Jew because none of the other explanations made that much sense. But you're not going to dispense with your sense of being Jewish when someone tells you that being a cultural Jew is meaningless, that you are just a lox and bagel Jew. Machar is here because secular, cultural, and humanistic Jews and their families in every imaginable configuration of that word deserve a community that takes them seriously and wants them to thrive for who they are, as they are. It's why we have our Jewish Cultural School program, which is bringing a little of our approach to others who are often kindred spirits in the way they live their lives but don't agree on all the details. It's why we have adult education program at the same time as the Sunday school program for our kids. We're not going to just teach the Torah as though that's all Judaism is. And that's true for children and adult members. Am I saying you should go to adult ed? I'm not saying that. It's why we have holiday services and Shabbat services and the little extra adult online education programs I put into the calendar, and a social action committee, and a membership committee planning social events, and a choir, and an LGBTQIA hurrah that is ever so gradually bootstrapping itself. It's why there's such a thing as a secular humanistic rabbi. Because secular, cultural, and humanistic Jews deserve all the supports that community can provide. And while your participation in Jewish life is yours, you shouldn't have to do it all by yourself. You deserve these things, and I'm not sure it's been said this way exactly at Machar for a little while. You deserve these things because your engagement with Jewish culture and life is valid. Notice I didn't say your Jewishness is valid. That's not because it's not, but we aren't all Jewish. Some of us have Jewish partners and we're here for them. Or we have Jewish partners but we're here for us, because despite not really identifying as Jewish ourselves at first, this is where we found community. Or we don't identify as Jewish, we have no personal ties at all to Jewish life in our family, but this community just somehow works. Why am I here? Why are we here? Why are we here? Because you deserve a place where you belong. A place where you don't have to say things you don't believe and can say the things you do. A place where there are others who believe and think and feel that way too. A place where through the triumphs and tragedies, the simchas and sorrows, and please submit your simchas and sorrows to our newsletter. I'm never not going to be in sales. You deserve a place where through all of that, you can find support from people whose answer to tragic loss will take seriously that sometimes we can't find meaning in tragedy, but we can find it in each other. A place where right and wrong and engaging in tikkun olam, social action, happens in a way that reflects the priorities of many secular and cultural Jews. Why are we here? Because that's the kind of place Machar wants to be. And it's the high holidays when we admit to failures and errors and misunderstandings, and so yes, we can really drop the ball as a community. At times, I've certainly dropped the ball as Machar's rabbi, and as a community, we'd love to be able to do more and do it flawlessly. That is, of course, not how the world works, but it's what we'd like. But most of all, what we want to do as a congregation is just be here for you. And so as we take our first steps into 5785, barely more than a month from an immensely consequential election, and after so much upheaval over the last year, we are, after all, 4 days away from the first anniversary of the October 7th attacks, with little prospect in sight for resolution as the scope of the conflict widens. I offer these two things. First, Machar is here for you, and however imperfectly, I am too. There's not much we can fix in the world, but sometimes it feels better just to talk about it. And we'll be doing that on October 7th this year. So keep an eye out for information on that upcoming program. Remembering I'm a rabbi and not a politician, and thus I'm going to ask you to talk about your feelings. Challenging though that is, ultimately, we're not here because someone used pure reason to get us to come. This is not the home for Immanuel Kant. Anybody who's had to read the Critique of Pure Reason now wants to run out of the door. You're not here because someone reasoned you into it. We're here because Machar makes sense for us, because we feel the need for something that Machar can help with. Second, if you think Machar could be providing something you can't find, tell us. Rabbi@machar.org forwards directly to me. It goes to my Gmail account. My Gmail account is macharjeremy@gmail.com. Guess what I use that account for? President@machar.org goes to our president, Will David. Education@machar.org forwards to me. I realize it can be confusing to navigate a cooperative Sunday school with 3 participating congregations, but I am the school director for Machar. Administrator@machar.org forwards to Jackie Krautman, our congregational administrator. As we turn back to our Rosh Hashanah morning service, I hope you'll take a moment to answer for yourself. Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? Shana Tova. So we are on the middle of page 14. And you wouldn't necessarily know it because we haven't been standing all this time, but we actually just finished the Amidah piece of things, because the shofar blowing in Rosh Hashanah mostly comes during the Amidah. And one of the pieces of the traditional Amidah is a Birchat Shalom, a blessing for peace. And so we have a song that's built off of the traditional blessing for peace. It's called Shalom Rav, so if you've been in other synagogue settings, there's a good chance you've heard this song before. We changed the words. I will not apologize for changing the words. It's in the supplemental packet. Our choir is going to come up. This is the last time you have to hear this fakakta thing. I'm too high, or too low rather. Has anybody seen that? I picked the key that works for me and not for them. It's not the best choice on my part. Okay. Better? Shalom Rav Kol Havim Ba'olam Sim Le'olam like to invite Mike back up. As we start our section on New Year and New Life, we're on the middle of page 14. That life is both fleeting and uncertain is a truth that presses upon the mind with special force as the old year ends and the new begins. Time speeds on and we go with it. And though we have seen the year close, we can never be sure of seeing the end of the new. Since life is so fleeting and frail, we must begin the serious use of it at once, and begin it by entering upon the task of self-examination and self-ennoblement, which is its essential preliminary. A new year, say the rabbis, should inaugurate new life. Let us consider the limited time we have on earth and use it wisely. Let us create value in each of our days. May we use diligence and foresight the span of time.
May we cherish and steward the best legacies of generations past, and, through our own deeds, contribute to generations present and future.
Generation upon generation, door by door, we cultivate the virtues that shine forth the highest qualities of our shared humanity and elevate the human experience.
There are those who now look back in complacency and indifference, who accept the fruits of the long journey but ignore the bitter costs of liberation and its lessons in tenacity and endurance. They are the strangers, and the road passes them by. There are others who look back in gratitude and humility, who remember that few present blessings have been won without the sacrifices of the past, who continually reevaluate the spiritual and cultural treasures that the travail of the journey has produced. These are the true heirs of the generations, and for them, the long and agonizing journey has been worthwhile.
If you take a look at the supplemental readings you received when you came in, just as we had a kavanah, or statement of intention, before shofar blowing, we have 2 kavanot, that's the plural, for your consideration. Take a few moments before the Kaddish to look for the kavanot we've included in the packet, so that if they're helpful, you can use one or both as ways to focus your thoughts before our mourner's Kaddish. So take a moment or two and see if there's something that speaks to you. We've inherited a Jewish tradition of several milestones that mark how Judaism has understood time frames for the mourning process. These occur at 7 days, 30 days, 11 months, and 1 year after the death of those we care for. If you are presently mourning the loss of someone dear to you within the last 7 days, and you're willing to do so, please rise. If you're presently mourning the loss in the last 30 days of someone dear to you and willing to do so, please rise. If you are mourning the loss of someone in the last 11 months, please rise. If you are mourning someone, the anniversary of whose death is around this time of year, please rise. As we now remember our loved ones and so many others who have died, let us recite together responsively an affirmation of our dedication, our Kaddish to life and its improvement. If you are able, please rise. Together, let us recall each person of blessed memory in all their humanity with all their strengths and limitations. Let us honor and learn much from the best and the legacies of our loved ones past, for the sake of all those who now live, and for the sake of all those who will yet come to live in this world. Thus, let us stretch ourselves to reach for greatness, and let us dedicate ourselves in the name of the living multitudes of this world. Nitgadel v'nitkadesh b'shem riboy hachayim ba'olam hazeh. May it be our heart's desire to work for healing and equity, for freedom and peace, to cultivate these in our lives and in our days, and in the lives of everyone in the world, swiftly and soon. Tehei masat libenu lif'ol lama'an refuat tzedek, chirut v'shalom, lagadel otam b'chayenu, uvimenu, uv'chaye kulam ba'olam, ba'agalav vizman kariv, v'hava nomar, amen, and let us say, amen. Let us bless and praise the memories of our loved ones with our actions. Nivarech u'neshabeach otam. Let us remember them in their glory and at their rights. Nizkor otam betiferet uveromamut shalahem. May we carry on them the best elements of their lives with splendor. Nisa bahadar. May we descend in shining examples of their praiseworthy deeds. Na'aleh bedivrehem l'chalel. Even as we speak, we know that the value of each life exceeds all that can be expressed in blessings or in songs, in praises or in words of consolation. Kodesh hanefesh olem min kol, rachbot shvachim onechamot. May be seated. And you'll join our choir in Na'aseh Shalom, which is number 8 in the hymnal yearbook. Joining together just below the little prompt for Na'aseh Shalom on page 17. Let us make peace in the world. Peace is our responsibility, the responsibility of all the Jewish people, all of Israel, and the responsibility of all peoples in the world. Let there be peace for us all. Let us reach out to one another to help bring peace to those in grief and strife. Let us care for each other wherever someone suffers loss.
We all need community, and as we encounter life's peaks and chasms, let us make our congregation a sanctuary of humanity, a place to feel our pain and joy together, a space to plumb the depths of our souls and heal our wounds together, a spiritual home where we share our poetry and songs, our visions and labors of love.
For those who mourn, let us offer you an oasis of peace in this caring community. For the ones we mourn, Let us find lessons and inspiration in their legacies. Let us remember righteous actions for a blessing. Nizkor tzedakah livracha. Amen. We are on the top of page 18, and it says a blessing for children. If you have a child nearby that you'd like to try to bless a little bit, see if you can consensually put a hand on them somewhere so that a little bit of you flows to them. I realize that teenagers are going to avoid this like the plague. That's just how it is. Just as we remember our loved ones past and celebrate the best in the lives, so too do we hope for our children and all who will yet be born into this world. We bless you and watch over you with our love. We hope that your learning and good deeds bring you joy and long life. May you help others and be an example to all, just as others help you and show you the paths of goodness. May the best within you shine forth with compassion. May you always lift up your face to meet others in peace.
As we hope for peace in the world, we must commit ourselves to working for peace. While force may sometimes be necessary to defend ourselves, we also know that violence and war are not able to solve humanity's problems. As they themselves are parts of our moral feelings, let us renew in our deeds the words of ancient Hebrew prophets Isaiah and Micah, who taught us, "Nation shall not raise up sword against nation, neither shall they any more learn more."
So, yes. In place of our song of peace, this little prompt on the bottom of page 18, Vashana Hawaka, I'd like for you to turn to the passage that's titled Our Hope in your supplemental reading. And we'll read that passage responsibly. I'll be in the block, we'll be in the italic. I apologize for the small font. I was trying to make sure we didn't put the nutrients. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is the path to justice everywhere. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear.
Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such method is love. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasms between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds which precipitate and perpetuate war. One day we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a mean by which we arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out of the mount of despair a stone of hope. Thank you, Jameson and Mike. It says Kiddush, so we're fast approaching the end. I know there are people who signed up for lunch, and that's what you're thinking about, and that's okay. Lunch is an okay thing to think about. To conclude our ceremony, we'll have a toast to the new year, break bread, and share apples and honey, all of which express our hopes for sharing a sweet and bountiful new year. First, our Kiddush dedicated to the new year. Wine, symbol of pleasure and sorrow, symbol of passion and the blood of life, symbol of plenty and of excess. Let us bless our lives and the new year by fostering community, by sharing our joy, our spirit, and our bounty, by inviting visitors to join us, by welcoming the stranger, by caring for those in need. Let us celebrate wine as a symbol of all that is good in the world. Let us drink a toast with the fruit of the vine to life. Nivarech et borei pri hagafen, let us bless those who create the fruit of the vine. I forgot to unwrap it, and I will not be eating the plastic. Each time we break bread, let us commit ourselves to a covenant for a better world. Nivarech et hamotziim lechem min haaretz, let us bless those who bring forth bread from the earth. The apple's beauty, fragrance, and taste inspired ancient Jews to see it as the symbol of sensuality and lust for life. The apple was also included in many Jewish legends as a symbol of good fortune and hope. The honey referred to in the Bible was a syrup made from fruit and was the epitome of sweetness and desirability to the ancient Jews. May our sweet apples and honey remind us to appreciate and find contentment in life's healthier pleasures. May the wholesomeness of this simple fare nourish our hope and our will to work for the improvement of our lives and our world. Livriut, b'tei avon, to your health, bon appetit. To my health, bon appetit. There's apples and honey later. We're coming close to the close of our service, and so I'd like to invite up Will David, our president, again, to make some announcements, and I believe a special presentation is happening. Is that?
I'd like to ask Elaine Dances to come up, please.
Elaine did not know we were going to do this. So we could not let this service conclude without thanking Elaine for serving as Machar's president for the past 3 years. Elaine took the helm, having not followed the typical progression of first serving on the board or being the vice president. Instead, she agreed to go straight to the top job because our congregation needed her, and she stepped up. Over the past 3 years, she has given of herself tirelessly. She has spent many long hours, week after week, in support of Machar. Because of her efforts, many good things have happened at Machar. Our committees have become more purposeful and functional. Elaine guided us through the first year of our Sunday school and adult education collaboration with Kahila. And Elaine and Barry spent many hours migrating us away from Quicken and Excel spreadsheets onto QuickBooks Online and ShulCloud, which provides us a much more robust platform with which to manage our congregation. I think the basic test of an organization's leader is, did you leave the organization in better shape than you found it? Elaine, you certainly have done that, and we are all grateful for your leadership over the past 3 years. We've gotten you this gift, Elaine, as a token of our appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I couldn't have done all my work without many people helping and stepping up and being on the board for hours and hours trying to solve all the Machar and world issues. Okay, Shana Tova to everybody. Thank you.
Many people are involved to make our high holiday services run smoothly. There's a lot of people I'd like to thank. For the main service, our choir, Misha Clive, Greg Gryza, Joy Markowitz, Joanna Pratt, Joyce Rosenthal, Michal Zelenin. And musicians, Harry Appleman on piano, Rabbi Jeremy Cradell on guitar, our shofar blowers, I think we had two, didn't we? Dan Everett and Piper Tabachman. Our readers, Siri and Julian Guerin, Semra Meshulam, Mike Sandler, Jameson Sandler. Our greeters, Kathy Bergman, Marina Breutman, Logan Elliott, Sky Elliott. Security and check-in, Elaine Dancis, Barry Dancis, Dunya Hecht, Emily Blake. Apples, Honey, and Honey Cake, Barbara Francisco, Mark Maurer. Our child coordinator, Sharon Rosenberg. Instrumental in setup and collaboration, Kathy Bergman. For the children's service, our leader, Rachel Hanadari. Our pianist, Adam Nam. Our shofar blower, Solomon Sandler. Apples and Honey, Darlene Bash, Miriam Gittler. And a very, very special thank you to Nadine Wetstein. Orchestrator, planner, coordinator extraordinaire. It is a huge lift to organize everything for high holidays, and we are lucky that she does this for Machar. Our congregational administrator, Jackie Kropman. Communications, registrations, check-in, badges, handling all of the administrative details. Jackie and I actually worked together years ago in federal government contracting, and I feel very fortunate that our paths have crossed again at Machar. She is stellar at what she does and critical to keeping the Machar train on the tracks. Last but not least, Rabbi Jeremy Cradell, who leads our services and much more. Rabbi Jeremy is focused on helping us to grow our connections with each other as a congregation and strengthen our connection to Jewish history, culture, and customs. He is a vital member of the Machar leadership team, and he is all in, fully invested. Jeremy is fully invested in Machar's present and future. Finally, some announcements for what's ahead. After the service, everyone is welcome to join for apples, honey, honey cake, and juice right outside the sanctuary and around the corner to the right. For those who registered for lunch, lunch will be through the hallway in the fellowship hall. As Jeremy mentioned earlier in the service, Rabbi Jeremy, on October 7th at 7 o'clock, there will be a Machar-wide Zoom event for sharing reactions to the anniversary of the October 7 attacks. 1 year ago, Hamas's attacks on Israel occurred and war followed. With Rabbi Jeremy moderating, we'll gather online to mourn the lost and share how we're feeling on the first anniversary of the 10/7 attacks. Please consider joining us. On October 8th at 7 p.m., also on Zoom, we'll have one more Thinking Tuesday adult education session with Rabbi Jeremy focused on the high holidays. Kol Nidre services are on October 11th at 7:30 in the evening. Childcare is available during this service. Please register in advance on our website. For Yom Kippur on October 12th, the children's service will be at 9:30. Please register in advance for the children's service. The main service will be at 10:30. Childcare is also available during this service. Register in advance on the website. During the main service, there will be a memorial portion of that service that will include a remembrance of innocent victims killed during the October 7 attacks and in the aftermath of the ongoing war. On October 20th, we will celebrate Sukkot at 10 a.m. at Cabin John Regional Park, which we'll be holding in conjunction with our partners at Beth Chai and Kahila Hadashah. More details and a sign-up sheet is coming soon. Details on all of the services and events, including adult education, speakers on Adult Ed Sundays, are in the weekly update sent via email by our congregational administrator, Jackie Krotman, every Thursday to everyone on the Machar listserv. If you're not receiving these and would like to, please let Jackie know. You can email her at administrator@machar.org. And lastly, at the conclusion of the service, for all of those who are able and willing, if you could come up to the front, and we'll all face that way, we're going to take a picture for the website. Shana Tova.
I have a request from all that attend, I would call it the family service, not the children's service, because we definitely have families. So a request, on Yom Kippur, we're going to be packing cookies to donate to Shepherd's Table. If you're not familiar, it's a soup kitchen in Silver Spring. So if anybody can bring the Kol Nidre or early the next day, any homemade or purchased cookies, if you bring them in, then the children and families attending the family service is going to be packing them and donating them. So I appreciate any cookies. Shana Tova.
A quick thanks as well to all of the folks at Cedar Lane who make it possible for us to have our holiday services in a physical place that is welcoming and works for us, and that provides amplification and all of those kinds of things that we need. Coffee afterwards at the lunch, for example, which, I'm sorry, my blood is 50% coffee. So I certainly need it, even if you don't. And thanks to all of you, because Machar doesn't exist just to exist, it exists for you. So you are entitled to thanks for figuring out that you needed a community and for finding it and coming together as one, which isn't a thing that I can make happen standing here 2 days a year. It just isn't how it works. We're in the middle of page 20, so we're going to hear the shofar one more time. So I'd ask our shofar blowers to come on back up. Let us now listen to the voice of the shofar, Hava Nishma Kol Shofar. Like a banner lifted high, it hearkens all the world to action for peace and freedom and compassion. Blow the shofar.
Proclaim our search for understanding and healing.
Tekiah.
Blow the shofar. Proclaim our struggle for equity and freedom.
Shivarim.
Blow the shofar. Proclaim our commitment to peace and the land.
Teruah.
May the shofar, which assembled ancient Israel in expectation of its challenges, fears, and dreams, awaken each of us and draw us together to face our own in the coming year. May we hear the shofar as our call to action. Tekiah Gedolah.
Shkoyach. We have come together here today as the Jewish New Year begins to reconnect with each other and the extended family that is the Jewish people. We've celebrated progressive values and teachings which help us guide our lives and which we treasure as our heritage. We reflect on our imperative to improve ourselves and our community, our culture, and our world. We are the stewards of a great legacy and the trailblazers of a vital, evolving civilization. We reflect on all that for which we feel grateful in life and look forward to the new year. May we respond with courage, determination, and urgency to life's challenges and its promise. May our deeds help us make the new year good and sweet. We join together on number 21 in the hymnal section for L'Shana Tova U'Matuka, which, if you were paying attention, is the melody that we were humming when we started 2 hours ago. Shana Tova, everyone. We will see some of you on Yom Kippur, and we'll see some of you at lunch. Don't forget to join us for a photo. Come on up front.